Hey everybody, this is Grace Talk and I'm your host Craig Aynal. Welcome to a very, very special episode. We have a special guest. The name is Maudie Jane Null, and by the surname you'll also know that this is my mother. Maudie turned 74 in 2025 and she's retired when she was 14 years ago. So if you're getting ready for retirement or you are in retirement, and listen carefully because she's got very, very good tips. Very good tips on health, on living healthy, on mental health, what occupies her, and then she's got some very, very good life tips. As a single woman that's traveled the world, and so yes, I'm very, very excited. I've in fact building up to this, I've already learned a lot about my mother. So welcome, Mom.
Thanks for having me, Craig.
And thank you for the lovely lunch. It was my mom's specially prepared fish and chips made by a local fish shop. I tried to tell her that, I'm trying to live a healthy lifestyle, and then you come here and we're supposed to talk about life and happiness, and I'm getting fish and chips. So I don't know what's going on now, but welcome and thank you for having us. We are in a home that she's been in since 1990 in the little suburb called Rondebosch East in Cape Town. So it's nice and cool here. It's sunny outside, and it's such a privilege for me to record this podcast. So just to give some quick context, as a 74-year-old, my Maudie's mom died at a very, very young age, and her aunt, Auntie Connie, took her in. Auntie Connie was still single at the time. So she then grew up with her cousins, and older sisters were there in her life, and her dad at the time was also traveling, but she had older but 8 or so siblings. So Maudie has a very interesting story to share for many of you. You don't have to be retired now. There's some lessons for you if you're a single mom. There's some lessons for you about just, how to, deal with life in retirement. But also we're going to speak about the stages when she met my dad in the 20s, and then some decisions she needed to make regarding studies and so forth. So it's going to be jam-packed session today. So I'm really looking forward, and we're really looking forward to your input and feedback. So Mom, let's kick off. So I spoke a little bit about your childhood, but before we get there, living without parents, in essence, because Pa, I believe, worked a lot overseas and so forth and so on. And with older siblings, you only came to know Christ at the age of 12. So tell us a little briefly how it was. Can you go back that time and just think about, as a child? I know you grew up just down the road here in Athlone. What can you just still remember some of the things that stood out as a child that you really thought about? I know one of the things you told me, you always wanted to be a nurse. So obviously you fulfilled that. Is there other stuff that you can tell us about in growing up in that scenario without your biological parents, as it were?
I suppose when I came to my senses and was confronted with my situation as an only child, and afterwards realized that I do have older siblings, even though we didn't always live together. Yes, for a short while, my 2 older sisters and I lived together with my aunt, but I was too young to even...
And that was Auntie Joan and Auntie Beatty.
Auntie Joan and Auntie Beatty, yes. And I was too young to even understand that they were my siblings. They kind of always cared and looked out for me. And as time went on, they left and they started working. My aunt got married. She had her own children. And I became the carer of their kids, which I didn't see any wrong in it. It became a normality. It was things that you just had to do. And there was a time where I remember as I grew a bit older, if I say a bit older, it was about 8, 9, around about there, when I had which I now call my siblings, was my cousins then, obviously, and I had to care for them. And I remember my friends around would come and want me to come and play with them outside, but I knew that my responsibility was to take care of them. It angered them, but it was normal for me. I can't remember having any anger about it, or it was just you do what you had to do at the given time.
So, yeah, so it's it must have had some impact on you, because growing up without your own parents, you're growing up with an aunt who's now, got married, had her own children. And then you had this responsibility, which you didn't question because it's normal. And then you took a decision to go and work at 12 years old, which obviously at this point in this world we're in is illegal. You said to me in the past that it wasn't asked for you. Your Auntie Connie didn't expect that of you. What made you make this decision? Is it because you grew up so quickly? What can you remember that far back? And if you can, just tell us briefly what may have gone through your mind at the time.
At the time, I remember that because I had a few friends around me that was my age, and I have noticed that whenever there was anything I needed, was it for school or personal things, there was never money. And it wasn't because my aunt didn't want to give it. She just couldn't give it. And I mean, I was part of the household.
And we're talking here about just in the 50s in South Africa.
And that was daily things that you needed. And because I was the carer of my siblings or cousins, as it is really known as, I had to make sure that they ate. I had to make sure that things were done for them. And because there was hardly enough to go around, I just decided one day enough is enough. I was just finished Standard 4, and before I went on to Standard 5, I decided, and I told my aunt I'm going to work. I had to take the bus to school, and there were many times that there weren't bus fee for me to go to school. So I decided I'm going to work. She made me aware that it is not the right thing to do. She's not expecting that of me, and I must never hold her responsible for my decisions, which, fair enough, I never did, because it's something I wanted to do. And it came from a genuine place where I just wanted to thought to myself, if I go and work, it will make things a bit easier in the home financially.
So what an interesting journey before the age of 12, making those decisions, taking responsibility. How do you believe it shaped you in your adult life? Because, I mean, it sounds like you don't even know what having fun is, or playing, or hanging out with friends. Did it have a positive or negative impact to you? Obviously, we're going to talk about when you met Dad and got married and had your own children. Did it impact you in a way, or negatively or positively? If it's too sensitive, you don't have to talk about it, but it'd be interesting.
I don't think it impacted me negatively at all, because I didn't see the wrong in it. For me, it was the norm. My life growing up was being responsible, doing housework, taking care of them. So play didn't come into the picture, because growing up I didn't have a lot of that. Yet I had fun in my own way. I was never allowed to play with kids that weren't in the same circle. Now, if you're in the same circle, I grew up in the church. I knew nothing else but the church. So it was Sunday school, and then later on youth as I grew older. So I didn't feel I missed out much, because my outing place was open air meetings. My outing place was Sunday school, and I was very young when I even became involved in Wayside Sunday School. And so I didn't see that I was missing out, because I still saw the friends that I had at church, because yes, they perhaps had playtime in between, but we still saw each other at those meetings.
So, no, that's very interesting, and thank you for that insight. I think the important event in your life was when you came to know Jesus as your Lord and personal Savior. Obviously, you grew up in church. I believe you were at Athlone Baptist as a child. And that probably was a natural decision, having grown up in church as a child as well. How did, and we speak about Proverbs 3 verse 5 a lot as we built up and prepared for this Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him and He'll straighten your path. And it's something you lived by. How did that shape you in those early days? You're now working at 12 years old. You're involved in the church. You're obviously in Sunday school. And now you're growing up now from 12 before you met Dad at 18. Did that shape you being a believer? Or is it that you just were in church and you kind of know how it worked? Did you feel a difference in your life, in your decision making at that young age? And again, I know it's a very long time ago. We're talking here over 65, 66 years ago.
I became a Christian at 12 years old, and I was in Sunday school, and I'll never forget that it wasn't the story they told, it wasn't what they said in Sunday school, it was the hymn that we sang now. I mean, if you think back now, for 12-year-olds to have hymns in Sunday school, and I'll never forget they sang, "Be not dismayed, whatever betide, God will take care of you." And that was an amazing promise. And at that given time, I cannot say that it was a time in my life where I felt down or lonely or sad. I can't remember. It's too far back. But what I do know that I then gravitated to that promise that never mind what happens, God will take care, which He did over the years. And because I was wrapped up amongst believers and older people and all of the time, and because the church knew that my aunts weren't married, she took me in. So even the adults in the church also parented me in different ways. And that is all I knew as a child. To do the right thing, to be careful, I was even told when I started working that I should be careful who I have conversations with and mix with. So I was made aware from a very young age that all those things was very important when you start out there, how to choose your friends, and they should always be stronger than you and something that you can aspire to, and not a situation where you can be dragged down.
So it says a lot about the role the church plays in young and older believers, and there's a sense of community, a sense of caring, guidance, counseling, and so it had a definite impact on you, it seems. So you told me that you had some challenges when you met Dad. You were 18. You were told you were too young. And so talk us through that process. Because you ended up being married. You had a very good 15-year stint before Dad was taken away, was now with the Lord in 1988. So very briefly, take us through the challenges you had. You met Johnny Nell, and I think you guys met with you in the youth situation and so forth and so on. What were the challenges then? And again, parents, please listen. This is a very important lesson because obviously I've got my youngest is now 17. I've got a 19-year-old, a 23-year-old. So if they were to come to me now and say, I want to get married, we can have a couple of conversations. So let's just tap into you. What was your challenges there regarding this guy you're dating? And having said all of that, you went to different denominations. That was full gospel, and you were Baptist. And we could actually end the podcast right there. Quickly tell us what were those challenges that you confronted and how you overcame them. Again, Proverbs 3 is ringing in the back of your mind. We'll talk later about your other favorite text that helped you as well, Isaiah 54.